Hi, I'm Amy McElroy, and thank you for viewing my presentation on the project approach. Blank, Damjanovic, Da Silva and Weber, 2014, state that the project approach has its foundations in John Dewey's theory of learning by doing and following the interest of the child. They go on to share that a student of Dewey's, William Herd Kilpatrick, translated Dewey's theories into a curriculum called the project method. Helm and Katz, 2011, share that due to the impact of the two world wars, the Great Depression, and other major socio-cultural events, Dewey's theories declined. However, during the 1960s and 1970s in the United Kingdom, an education movement known as Project Work was established. In Italy, in a city called Reggio Emilia, Loris Malaguzzi, a man whose pedagogy was grounded in Dewey's philosophic and theoretical ideas, established the Reggio Emilia Early Childhood Centres, which continue to this day. At the same time as the popularity of the Reggio Emilia practices grew throughout the world, Professor Lillian Katz and Professor Sylvia Chard revived Dewey's theories and founded the project approach. Helm and Katz, 2011, state that the project approach engages children in investigation of a topic posed either by the children, the educator, or the educator working with the children. Sargent, 2011, explains that projects are open-ended, which enables children of different ages and abilities to participate according to what knowledge and skills they have. The cornerstones of the project approach is that it must be initiated by the children and involve the children in making decisions about the direction of inquiry, the in-depth study, and the culmination of the project. The children must show curiosity and interest about the project, for it is this engagement that reaps the benefits of the project approach. Nagel, 2012, discusses research in neuroscience that highlights the benefits of stimulating background knowledge, having strong child-initiated interest, integrated the early childhood domains, having opportunity for oral communication, and guidance from a nurturing educator, which are all features of the project approach. Blank, Damjanovic, Da Silva and Weber, 2014, state that the project approach has its foundations in John Dewey's theory of learning by doing and following the interests of the child. They go on to share that a student of Dewey's, William Herd Kilpatrick, translated Dewey's theories into a curriculum called the project method. Helm and Katz, 2011, share that due to the impact of the two world wars, the Great Depression, and other major socio-cultural events, Dewey's theories declined. However, during the 1960s and 1970s in the United Kingdom, an education movement known as Project Work was established. In Italy, in a city called Reggio Emilia, Loris Malaguzzi, a man whose pedagogy was grounded in Dewey's philosophic and theoretical ideas, established the Reggio Emilia Early Childhood Centres, which continue to this day. At the same time as the popularity of the Reggio Emilia practices grew throughout the world, Professor Lillian Katz and Professor Sylvia Chard revived Dewey's theories and founded the project approach. Helm and Katz, 2011, state that the project approach engages children in investigation of a topic posed either by the children, the educator, or the educator working with the children. Sargent, 2011, explains that projects are open-ended, which enables children of different ages and abilities to participate according to what knowledge and skills they have. To be a project approach, it must be initiated by the children and involve the children in making decisions about the direction of inquiry, the in-depth study, and the culmination of that project. The children must show curiosity and interest about the project, because it is this engagement that reaps the benefits of the project approach. Nagel, 2012, discusses research in neuroscience that highlights the benefits of stimulating background knowledge, strong child-initiated interest, integration of the early childhood domains, opportunity for oral communication, and guidance from a nurturing educator, which are all features of the project approach. project approach is not thematic, where educators collect materials and resources related to a theme, followed by most content areas being connected to this theme. It is also not a series of pre-planned lessons and activities on a specific topic that the educator wants the children to learn, which is usually associated with unit plans. And it is not an area of the room designed for the investigation or development of certain knowledge and skills. Learning centres are designed to teach concepts and provide practice in skills that the educator has planned. Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz state that the project approach does not constitute the entire ECE curriculum, but rather is incorporated into daily routines. The project approach can help to consolidate skills explicitly taught at another time. The Early Years Learning Framework 2009 puts the child at the centre of the curriculum, and the context for their learning is through play. The Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority, ACEQA, 2020, states best practice in early childhood education and care requires educators to use the EYLF as it recognises the learning and development of each child across 8 interrelated and interconnected domains of development. The EYLF highlights under practices key elements that the project approach addresses in its implementation in an early childhood setting. Each phase of the project approach has one or more of the EYLF practices being implemented during that phase. The EYLF practices have a strong connection with the quality areas of the National Quality Standards, the NQS. The project approach shares particular connection with quality areas 1, 5 and 6. In Western Australia, the curriculum body, the School Curriculum and Standards Authority, SCASA, covers K to 10, with kindergarten addressed through the Kindergarten Curriculum Guidelines. The 5 areas of the Kindergarten Curriculum Guidelines are based on the 5 outcomes of the EYLF, which does not specify curriculum content. Once children enter formal schooling, known as pre-primary in Western Australia, content becomes separated into learning areas. Krieg 2011 proposes that a challenge faced by Foundation through to Year 2 educators is to consider that a multidisciplinary approach might be necessary, so children are not confined to specific learning areas. Krieg 2011 goes on to suggest that an inquiry approach, of which the project approach is, would embrace the vision of belonging, being and becoming, as it does not hold one way of knowing over another. Arthur Beecher Death, Docker and Farmer, 1993, state that the Australian curriculum provides educators with an explicit account of the teaching and learning expected in Foundation through to Year 2, but allows the educator to make their own decision about their teaching and learning practices. The EYLF states holistic approaches as one of the core practices expected of early childhood educators. Brodie, 2018, explains the holistic approach as where every area of learning, development and growth is entwined with every other. The project approach meets this practice as a project will involve many different curriculum areas and domains of child development. Topics can come directly from the child, initiated by the educator, or while the educator is working with the children. Hellman Katz 2011 describe educator-initiated topics as ones that are broad enough for a wide range of possible interests to come forth from all the children in the class. A curriculum decision-making process is recommended in the SCASA Kindergarten Curriculum Guidelines when designing and implementing a quality kindergarten curriculum. This is also of great benefit when implementing the project approach in the early years setting. The project approach begins in the planning stage of the decision-making process with topic selection. The entire curriculum decision-making process will be utilised during Phase 1 of the project approach. Hellman Katz 2011 state that Phase 1 of the project approach is crucial to the success of the project, as this is when an appropriate topic is embarked upon. To ensure the topic is suitable for the project approach, Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz 2018 provide a checklist of 12 criteria that prompts educators to consider the prior experiences and culture of the children in their care. It is important that the identified interest is shared by many of the children to ensure that the project can be sustained through shared discoveries, dramatic play, and cooperative representation of their learning. A common topic of interest will need to be identified as the starting point of a project for the group. Hellman Katz 2011 suggests that this circular graphic from Bess Jean Holt may be helpful. Topics suitable for very young children can be found at the centre of the circle before rippling out to topics suitable for preschoolers, kindergarteners, and beyond. Interest could also come from a current project being undertaken in the classroom, or an object that the child or an educator has brought in after recognising an interest. An event may spark the children's interest. The interest could also come from a question children have asked during their daily activities. A picture or photograph could serve as the springboard for a new project. An observation of children's sustained play in a particular area of the EC environment or with certain resources may uncover an interest also. These entry points of children's interest promote children's learning in outcomes 1, 2, 4, and 5 of the EYLF. Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz 2018 discuss the importance of educators observing, actively listening, using longer wait times, and using questioning to create interest, to stimulate learning, and to encourage alternatives to be considered. Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz 2018 also suggest finding out children's interests from their families, which is a valuable strategy to use with toddler groups to support ESL learners and children with special needs. In the project approach, the educator follows the lead of the children engaged in the project. Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz describe this role for the educator as a planner of opportunities to satisfy children's curiosity. In their role as young researchers, facilitated by the educator, children are engaged in the EYLF outcomes. Once a common topic of interest has been identified, Hellman Katz 2011 suggests educators construct an anticipatory teacher planning web as part of the planning process in Phase 1, which will not be shared with the children. The Illinois Early Learning Project states that the teacher planning web is intended to be a reminder of the wide range of possible subtopics that can be investigated by the children, rather than an outline of lessons or activities. The web includes concepts, ideas, information, and vocabulary that the educator believes are worthy of the children learning more about. Hellman Katz 2011 note that once the project is underway, some changes can be made to the initial web based on what the educator learns about the children's interests, understandings, and knowledge of the topic. Benecke, Ostrowski and Katz 2018 discuss the importance of planning a variety of activities and introducing provocations to help children deepen their thinking around the topic. Hellman Katz 2011 suggests while observing children and engaging in discussion, educators can frame children's thoughts into questions which will guide the investigations in Phase 2 of the project approach. As the educator asks what are the children's wonderings and ideas about the topic, the educator scribes their ideas and thinking onto a large piece of paper or onto post-it notes. Hellman Katz 2011 suggests that the brainstorming session has a quick pace with ideas coming quickly. Hellman Katz 2011 discussed the importance of building the prior knowledge and vocabulary around the topic before attempting the web with children. With very young children engaging in a variety of activities and framing their thoughts into questions will occur simultaneously with the creation of a topic web. From these questions, the educator selects 1 or 2 questions for the children to make predictions about the answer, and ideas are discussed with the children about how the children could find out the answer. These questions serve as a guide for lesson planning in Phase 2. Beginning in Phase 1 and moving through to Phase 3, educators will be involved in a post-programming process. The web you see here is one I developed in 2012 to use with a toddler class. Its purpose is to show how the topic addresses each of the domains, resulting in a truly integrated project. The EYLF outcomes surround the central topic circle, which then branches out to each of the domains, showing thinking about the topic in a holistic way and how the topic might support growth and progress in the domains. As the children are investigating their area of interest, I use this document to record the activities that have addressed one or more of the domains. I can also see at a glance a domain that may not be getting engagement. Looking at the children's questions to investigate, I can guide the children to engage in activities which will address that domain. Helm and Katz 2011 acknowledge that Phase 1 is a lengthy process, but highlight that the value of this phase lies in the viability of the project that the children ultimately move forward with. The valuable work of the educator over this phase can be seen in the planning that shows possible directions the project might take, the materials needed, possible excursions or incursions, family or community resources, and importantly, integration of the curriculum. Helm and Katz 2011 described this phase as the children's in-depth study of the topic to seek answers to their questions and as their knowledge grows to possibly ask more complex questions. Often educators will organise an excursion that will assist the children in their research or invite experts to speak to the children in their classroom. Children represent new understandings through writing, drawing, construction and dramatic play. The children and educator revisit the topic web to indicate what was learned, identify new questions, or to repeat investigations if further understanding is needed. A re-web may be required if the topic has shifted during the project. The educator anticipates how the children will culminate the project through documentation. Waning interest in the project is a natural part of the project approach and indicates that it is time to move into Phase 3. There are three main components in Phase 3. The first is to gather the children together, review the topic web, review the children's work that has been created, and consider the documentation. Then, as the children are reviewing their work, they will be discussing how best to share what they have created and learned. Finally, it's time to share what has been learned. Beneke, Ostrowski and Katz state it is important to bring closure to the project and celebrate children's learning. Sargent 2011 shares that it is important for children to reflect upon and consolidate what they have learned during a project. Sharing provides educators with a summative assessment opportunity and a way to communicate children's learning with families. Projects can culminate in a presentation to another class, the creation of a documentation wall, through learning journeys, the construction of something related to the project, a performance, or through role play. Mitchell, Falga, Wetzel and Rathke 2009 state that despite the benefits the project approach brings to children's learning and development, many educators have been reluctant to adopt the approach due to the lack of specific guidelines in planning for projects and assessing projects. My review of some of the resources available to educators interested in the project approach has revealed that in recent years this barrier has been addressed. Beneke, Ostrowski and Katz 2018 provide a 52-step project approach implementation checklist designed to support educators through all three phases of the project approach. The checklist that you see here provides clear guidelines for every step. In addition, it encourages educators to monitor their implementation by evaluating what is working and to make adaptations as needed to meet children's learning needs and interests. It supports educators in maintaining fidelity in their implementation of the project approach. Helm and Katz 2011 freely provide a teacher project planning journal through their publisher Teacher College Press online. This teacher project planning journal leads educators through the major decision points of project work. and is worthwhile downloading a copy of. Sargent 2011 states that much of the planning in Project Approach is post-planning, allowing for a flexible and dynamic approach where educators observe and formatively assess children's activities as they progress and respond to children's changing intentions. Mitchell, Fowler, Wetzel and Rathke 2009 describes this as the negotiated project approach, where the educator integrates the curriculum outcomes into the children's interests rather than the other way round. Sargent 2011 provides several resources that assist educators to plan and post-plan during the project. This is an example of a planning document that supports the post-programming necessary in the project approach. It combines ECE planning documents suggested by the University of Notre Dame and ideas from the Teacher Project Planning Journal. Thank you again for viewing this presentation, and I hope that you feel as excited as I do about implementing this approach into your ECE curriculum. I've included lots of practical resources for you to access so that you can start to dip your toes into this approach.